The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood.
After Snow White tanked at the box office, the drama is still going strong. And now there are accusations that even her own co-star Andrew Burnap is blaming her for the epic failure of the movie. Rachel Zegler simply can't seem to get a break, and she may be her own worst enemy. Hold on tight, because today we're going to explore how Rachel Zegler went from Disney darling to Hollywood's black sheep, and why Disney is reportedly rushing to sever relations. The behind-the-scenes story is more interesting than the film itself.
I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film.
You want to trash that legacy? That company that now Disney has screwed up the last 5 years trying to please a small percentage of minorities in America? Yeah, we're sick of it. So the more you do this, Disney, Iger, Ziegler, whatever her name is, yes, this is exactly the backlash you're going to get from parents who have kids who are your customers. You're supposed to win parents over. You're talking to kids, the parents pay for the tickets. You have to be a dummy as a marketer. If I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting. We're putting Snow White on hold for 2 years, and guess what? Pay her a couple $1 million, go away. We're going to bring another person to play this role because you just screwed this thing up.
Now, following a startling first week for Rachel Zegler and her box office failure, many people predicted that attendance would gradually start to increase as more and more people choose to see the beloved classic, but you were all mistaken.
Things just went from bad to worse for Snow White, and it's shaping up to become one of the biggest bombs of all time.
In a staggering 66% week-over-week decline in theater attendance in its second week, Snow White set a highly undesirable record and set a new low for Disney.
The Snow White remake is now one of the lowest rated films in IMDb history. This is such a poor reception for a Disney princess movie, and I'll be surprised if it even has a 1-star tomorrow because the bad reviews keep pouring in by the second.
This drop-off is even worse than that of Dumbo in 2019, officially making Rachel Zegler's Snow White the worst week 2 drop of any Disney live-action remake ever now. While this disaster was going on, Rachel Zegler, in a desperate attempt to save her career and try to get people to come out and see the movie, made herself the laughingstock of Hollywood as Snow White numbers dwindled in theaters. Rachel decided to go and watch her movie in cinema with her friends, however, too. Her surprise when she turned up, nobody was there. This was all documented on Rachel's friend's Instagram account, where she filmed herself shouting Rachel's name as it appeared on screen in a near-empty theater. Now, this all started a trend of people filming themselves seeing Snow White in theaters, and in almost every video the cinema is almost always empty, and with this trend picking up, it's rumored that Disney excess aren't too happy with Rachel Zegler, and unconfirmed reports are even coming out that she has already been dumped by Disney.
So apparently Rachel Zegler is suing Disney Studios for wrongful termination and also discrimination. I literally don't understand what's going on. Rachel just needs to sit down. Like this says, rumor has it, Rachel Zegler might be suing Disney and others for canceling some of her Snow White press tour due to all the controversies. Bro, before the movie even came out, she was talking about how she wants to bring up the woman in this movie and how there's not going to be a prince. And so I understand, like, Disney saying, like, you did so much in this press tour that did not help us in any way and actually negatively affected our movie. So, I mean, honestly, it does kind of make sense.
Now, this movie was supposed to be a big deal for a lot of people, one of them being Rachel's fellow cast member Andrew Burnap. Now, before all the drama of this movie began, many people were anticipating that Andrew would come out a star when this movie dropped. Even he himself thought so. While speaking with People magazine, I remember I auditioned for it. I put something on tape and sent it off. Andrew said, you train yourself to audition and then forget about it as quickly as possible. And then weeks later, I got an email saying they'd like to see you again. I said, you've got to be kidding. And then this next time they said, you're going to go in for a chemistry read with Rachel Zegler. And then the minute I got the phone call that I got the job, I remember I was outside and I sat down on the ground and thought, wow, my life is really going to change from here. and it certainly hasn't changed. It did, but it's not the change Andrew wanted you see. Even before the movie finished its production, Rachel had already begun destroying Andrew's hard work and even his character in the movie. During the press tour, many got the impression that Rachel felt she was the Snow White Messiah and she was too good for the role. Literally every chance she got, she took the opportunity to throw shade on the original movie and Andrew's character in the movie, calling it outdated. And let's be honest, we all know she was holding back on truly saying the things she was thinking make the entire situation worse. In an interview with Extra TV, Rachel referred to Snow White's romantic interest as a strange stalker. She discussed Andrew's character and said, "We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap, great dude. But it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful."
So no prince or a different kind of prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap, great dude. It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Now, this particular comment offended many people, including David Hale Hand, the son of the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs supervising director David, who said Rachel's remarks showed no respect for what Walt Disney and his father did all those years ago. The backlash was so strong that Disney forced Rachel to retract her remarks, saying, "I would never want to box someone in and say if you want love then you can't work, or if you want to work then you can't have a family. It's not true, it's never been true. It can be very upsetting when things get taken out of context or jokes don't land." The love story is very integral. A lot of people wrote that we weren't doing that storyline anymore. We were always doing that. It just wasn't what we were talking about on that day. Now, Andrew wasn't the only one Rachel was trying to ruin. It was well publicized that Rachel and Gal Gadot didn't get along, but unlike Andrew, ARA's words didn't affect Gal's movie character, but her personally. You see, back in August 2024, Zegler took to X to share her support for Palestine in a post tied to the Snow White trailer. Now, we all know politics is a very strong and extremely divisive topic, and in this case, it was no different. Gal Gadot used to serve in the Israeli Defense Forces under the country's compulsory military service laws and has previously voiced her support of Israel amid the Israel-Palestine conflict. Surprise, surprise, this didn't go down well behind the scenes, y'all. That tweet from Zegler sent shockwaves at Disney. Many people involved in the production of the movie were completely confused as to why Rachel decided to use the promotion of their movie to promote such a strong political statement. Y'all, things were so bad that Disney execs were blowing up Rachel's phone, and the movie's producer Mark Platt flew to New York to speak directly with her. Now, at this point, Rachel's relationship with the producers and the execs at Disney was so bad because for basically 2 years, she was constantly throwing shade at their movie, but they had already spent so much money making and marketing the movie that they were essentially stuck with her, and she wasn't making it easy for them. Anyways, the aftermath of that tweet from Rachel began to snowball after Gal started receiving living threats because she is Israeli. They got so bad that Disney had to hire additional security for Gal. According to an insider, it appeared that Rachel Zegler was unaware of the consequences of her post, which greatly exacerbated the problem. Rachel was unaware of the consequences of her behavior for the movie for Gal for anyone after that, and the two co-stars' relationship only deteriorated with every day. This was particularly challenging for Disney because they needed the two of them to promote the film, but when they did, it was obvious that they had nothing in common. Even at the film's premiere, they appear to go out of their way to avoid one another, and at the European premiere in Spain, the Gal Gadot didn't even appear.
$270 million on the film, the studio opted for a small LA premiere held Saturday in the middle of the day with limited press. Zegler greeted children dressed as Snow White. She was not at Disneyland on Sunday, where Gal Gadot promoted the film, surrounded by children dressed as her character.
The fact that the two are really old doesn't help either. They have nothing in common because Gap and Gal are mothers to 4 children and Rachel is a budding actress. However, they did have one movie, which was a complete bust. Another source who spoke to People magazine provided an inside look at how strange things were between the two co-stars. She was fine with Rachel, but they're not friends. They just work together on a project, and that's all. Another source claims that when it comes to such remarks, The gal doesn't agree with Ziegler and that she doesn't understand that you don't criticize and cause drama for a project you signed on to do. They weren't wrong, though, because Rachel continued to make life more difficult for Disney employees. And in the midst of all the drama with Rachel, she also started to beef with Trump and his supporters. CES went on a full-fledged tirade, accusing Trump's followers of a deep-seated illness and dragging them for adhering to a false sense of security, masculinity, intelligence, patriotism, and humanity. Rachel went all the way off on Instagram in one post, writing that made Trump supporters, Trump voters, and Trump himself never know peace. To top it all off, she ended with a bold F. Donald Trump. Now you already know the internet exploded after that the mega crowd came for her neck demanding that Disney fire her from the upcoming Snow White movie. And if they didn't, they threatened to boycott the film altogether. Y'all, Disney had had enough of Rachel. They didn't know what to do with her because she was basically telling half of their potential audience to not even bother to come and see their movie. They even flew out the movie's producer again, so he could have a one-on-one with Rachel to get her in control because she was sabotaging them hard. And after a series of back and forth, Disney turned to a social media guru to try and get Rachel under control. After that, Rachel issued an apology saying, "Hi everyone, I would like to sincerely apologize for the election post I shared on my Instagram last week. I let my emotions get the best of me. Hatred and anger have caused us to move further and further away from peace and understanding, and I am sorry I contributed to the negative discourse." She continued, "This week has been emotional for so many of us, but I firmly believe that everyone has the right to their opinion even when it differs from my own. I am committed to contributing positively toward a better tomorrow." Now, after all this drama, Rachel is paying seriously for seemingly the inability to hold her tongue, which might have just cost her her career. But what do you all think? Can Rachel recover from this disaster? Let me know your opinions in the comments below and check out next video.